Hi everyone, and welcome back to Katie Bakes for Casey 2021 Back to School Recipe Series. Today we are doing the ultimate allergy-friendly, vegan, gluten-free waffles. These are essential to have in your repertoire now that school is starting, to stock the freezer, a quick go-to dinner, or even a fun dessert recipe. So I'm going to show you how to do the recipe. It takes 2 seconds, and then how we freeze them, and then waffles 4 ways: breakfast, lunchbox, dinner, and a dessert. There's also a chocolate variation to this, which I'll talk about. I'm not going to make them today, but I'll talk about it once we get started. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Now, as always, my recipes are customizable to any of your safe needs. So if you need to use or can use regular dairy milk and butter, go right ahead. If you need to use or can use regular wheat flour, go right ahead. We just use what's safe for us in this house, but my recipes on Katie Bakes for Casey will always have the substitutions the way you need them, okay? And the recipe will have the link below or always on katiebakesforcasey.com. So let's get started. Here are all of our ingredients, with one resting on the stove over there waiting for us. Now, fancy French term that we learned in culinary school called mise en place. What does that mean? Everything in its place. Meaning, you go through everything, you read your recipe, make sure you have the ingredients. You don't want to be waiting for everything. You want anything and everything waiting for you. So first things first, we're going to get our waffle iron heated up. This is a Cuisinart. Lower model, really very inexpensive, and it will pay for itself if you don't have one and you're debating it. I'm telling you, I use it once to twice a week just to stock up the freezer or just for a quick dinner, and it's really paid for itself multiple times over. So when we're making this, you want to plug this in, have it ready to go. If you are feeding the whole family, say it's Saturday, Sunday morning breakfast, you want to have your oven on low to keep everything warm while you're making all these waffles, because it'll probably take half an hour start to finish to get them all done once the batter is prepared. The other thing we need to have done ahead of time is making our safe buttermilk. Whether you use real dairy buttermilk or non-dairy buttermilk, which I'm using here with my So Delicious unsweetened coconut milk, what you want to do is something called clabber your milk. What does that mean? Well, we're going to add an acid to it. And the general rule of thumb is for every cup of milk or non-dairy milk, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of acid. I choose to use apple cider vinegar. You can use lemon juice or white vinegar if you choose, but you want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. It's going to look chunky and almost like it's curdled and broken, but that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to look. This isn't something you want to do like 10-15 minutes ahead of time, but a few minutes, like 5, you need to give it time to activate and do that, okay? 10 minutes is the most I would let it sit, because then you don't have to buy a whole quart of buttermilk. And if you are vegan and you need, or you have dairy allergy like Casey has, and you use the safe milk, works exactly the same. The acid in there is essential because it's going to react with our baking powder and baking soda that's in here to help give that fluffy interior. Also, with the absence of gluten, like we have to have, because Casey's anaphylactic to wheat and I have celiac, so we can't have any wheat products, it helps to give structure in the absence of gluten. So very important, okay? So those are waiting for you. In my bowl here, I have the gluten-free all-purpose flour. I use King Arthur flour measure for measure, and it does have xanthan gum in it. If your gluten-free flour blend does not have xanthan gum in it, then the general rule of thumb is for every 1 cup or 140 grams of flour, you have to add 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. I use Energy brand. You find it on Amazon. Very good, but it's important because your baked good is not going to have any structure without that xanthan gum, okay? There's also salt, because salt enhances the flavor of everything. About 1/4 teaspoon, with a tablespoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm sorry, tablespoon of baking powder, yes, I don't know if I said that right, and a 1/4 teaspoon baking soda. These are absolutely essential, even if you had a recipe with eggs, because it helps to give lightness, airiness, and structure to our waffle once it's baked, okay? So we're going to whisk that together because you don't want to have just, and also 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of sugar. Is the sugar necessary? Yes, it is. You can cut it down slightly. You can, but I wouldn't do it too much, and I'm going to tell you why. Sugar is very necessary in baked goods because it's not just about the sweetness. It's also about helping to give the brown, the caramelization, the crispiness that we're looking for, tenderness. So you can use coconut sugar if you want to, just always bear in mind it is going to change the color of something. Now, if we were doing our chocolate waffle variation, the only difference is instead of 2 cups of flour, you would use 1 3/4 cup of your all-purpose flour blend or regular wheat flour, and you're going to have 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. I use Hershey's cocoa powder. I've been using it for the longest time since Casey was cleared to have cocoa, and I trust their labeling. Even for my older boys, Jude and Gabriel, when they have a chocolate, Casey can't have it, but I always have their labeling is very, very trustworthy because they have may contains, and I really go with Hershey. I trust them, so I use Hershey. That's the only difference. And the cocoa powder may have to be sifted because sometimes it gets very, very hard lumps, especially when it's old, and those lumps will not come out, okay? And I also have waiting over here my vegan butter melted. You can use regular butter if that's what you want to use. That's perfectly fine. I don't recommend oil in this because it makes it very greasy and you're not getting the same crispness and flavor and tenderness that you would from the vegan or the regular butter. I use Earth Balance. That's safe for Casey now that he's passed a soy challenge, but they do have different variations of the Earth Balance that we can't go near with a 10-foot pole because of flax oil and things like that. He can tolerate sunflower, safflower, and rapeseed oil, but only if it's highly refined, but definitely still not flax. He's had anaphylaxis to flax, unfortunately. Seeds are a real big bummer. You don't want this too hot or too cold. Just melt it, kind of put it off to the side. If it's too hot, it's going to really liquefy your batter, and if it's too cold, it's going to get lumpy. You know what happens to butter once it gets cold, right? All right, ready to go? Couldn't be easier. We're going to add in our safe milk with the vinegar that was added to it. Oh, and there was also a teaspoon of vanilla extract in there. If you'd like other extracts, you can throw a drop in there. That's fine. And we're going to mix this to get out the big lumps. You're not going to get rid of all those little teeny lumps, so don't, bang your head against the wall trying to get it out because you're not going to. But that's okay. Mostly in pancake and waffle batters, that will happen, and that's normal. And then we're going to add in our safe butter. It's at perfect temperature right now. Again, that's part of your mise en place, having this melted, waiting for you. This batter comes together so quickly, and especially when you have everything melted waiting. Like, this is not the time you want to turn on your waffle iron. You want to have it on already waiting for you. Now this is what fancy word emulsify. We're emulsifying our butter into here, meaning we're just blending it in properly, incorporating it so it's in the whole batter. Beautiful. There you go. Hot iron, let's go. We're going to take a big fat ladle. This is a 4-ounce ladle, so if you don't have a ladle, choose not to use one. You want to use a heaping 1/2 cup measuring. Okay? And then we're going to drop that right in the middle. If you need a tiny bit extra, go in there. Spread it out just a little bit, but don't worry, because once you put the plate on there, see how that looks there, guys? Once you put the plate down, it'll move. Don't be tempted to overfill because it'll overflow out of the sides, okay? Now, how long do we let this go? Well, follow manufacturer's instructions. They may give you an idea here or there, but a good thing to look out for is all this steam. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but when all that steam stops, that's when you're going to start taking a look. You also have a light here. There's a red light. Obviously, it means it's not ready. When it turns green, start checking. But when the steam goes away, that means a lot of the water has evaporated out of it. Well, where's water come from, Katie? There's no water in it. Well, of course there is. It's in the coconut milk. It's in your regular milk. It's in your butter. It's in your vegan butter, okay? And that steam, that evaporation is letting you know that the waffle is almost done, okay? It's setting the structure on the outside right now, getting nice and crispy from those very, very hot plates, okay? I have mine at about a 4. They usually go from 1 to 5. With the vegan ones, go a little bit to the higher side because it's going to be especially gluten-free too. It has to cook a little bit longer. But you want to start checking it too because your light may come on before or after the waffle is done. So keep an eye on it. Now, something very important that I have here, I want you to take note of, and anytime you watch my recipes, you'll see I have this all the time. Cooling rack, okay? Very important to have a cooling rack. It's also sometimes known as a glazing screen, like if you glaze a cake and stuff. Why? Why do we have this? Well, anytime you have a baked good or something hot, it's coming out of the oven, coming waffle iron, you have pancakes coming off the stovetop, French toast. If you put it straight on a plate or on a counter, the heat and the evaporation that's coming out from the bottom, it has nowhere to go because there's still heat there. So if you put it right against the counter, a plate or something, it's just going to get hot, and then it's going to have that condensation that's going to make the bottom of your baked good mushy. So if you have bread, if you have a quick bread, muffins, cupcakes, cookies, anything, it's going to build up that water underneath and make the bottom of your baked goods soggy. We don't want that. And we want this to cool all the way, especially if you're making anything gluten-free. Gluten-free needs to bake a little bit longer and cool longer to help set the structure because it doesn't have gluten to make structure. So it has to cool pretty much completely. The only exception to doing this right now, like I said before, if you're feeding the whole family on the weekend or a weeknight or something, then in your oven to keep them warm. But I would still even put them on the rack on a sheet pan in the oven just to keep it that evaporation of the condensation coming out. Because again, you don't want that mushiness, and it gets very, very rubbery too, okay? And if we're putting these in the freezer like I always do, they have to be cooled completely before you put them away. So we're gonna start checking on them. My light just turned green as I was speaking. Not done all the way, I'm touching it. It's not as crispy as I want yet, it's a little bit soft. Don't be tempted. If you take them off too soon, they're gonna be soggy and kind of flimsy. They're not gonna have that nice crispity, crackly that you want. If you do take it off too soon, what can you do? Heat it back up either in the toaster or in the oven, moderate oven, about 325. The air fryer is magic to warming these back up. And if you put them in the freezer, you're warming them up for school the next day, what do? Well, you can thaw them in the fridge overnight, or you can take them out of the freezer and on half power in the microwave, start defrosting them just enough to get the freeze out of them and the wetness from being frozen. And then put them either reheat in your air fryer, in the toaster, or in the oven to get it nice and crisp again. You want to re-crisp them because these will get soggy, whether they're gluten-free or not, but especially if they're gluten-free, they're going to start getting soggy after a little bit of time, okay? That's the best way to do it. Another fun thing that you can do with your waffle batter, my boys love it, is you can cook bacon ahead of time. Bacon. Except Casey has F-pies to beef and pork. So we use turkey bacon, Applegate turkey bacon. You can get your bacon nice and crispy, crumble it up, stir it into the batter, and make bacon waffles. Yes, please. They are so good. One-stop shopping. You got your protein and you got your carbs all in one shop. My boys love it. It's super, super good. I really like that. But you would at this point, it's really not other mix-ins I would suggest. It's not like a pancake that if you have it on the stovetop, it'll cook. This will flatten it out. It'll burn because the plates, go back and forth to each other. So let's check it out again. There we go. Beautiful. Nice and crispy. Perfect. Love it. I'm going to set that there to cool. And as it cools and as that heat and the moisture evaporates out, it's going to continue to get a little bit crispier as long as you took it out at the right time, all right? Let's drop another one in here while we're sitting here talking, shall we? Because why not? We'll just let it keep going. I already showed you one. These are a whole bunch that I made before, so you can take a look at what they're going to be. You should get for this batter about 4 really nice size of those 6-inch waffles. There are other square waffle irons, it's up to you, but they all have those dividers in them that they'll be in quarters. So when you're done, you will have either 4 triangles, or you can have them in halves, eat them whole, whatever you want. That's up to you. But you should get 4 really nice size ones, okay, which would work out to be 16. If you made them to the thinner side, you can eke it out and get more, okay? I'll leave that there. Now, fun part, let's talk about how are we using these waffles to do breakfast, lunchbox, dinner, and dessert. Let's start with breakfast, okay? Now, don't give me too much credit thinking that this is how I serve my kids every morning, because trust and believe, I do not. My little angels get breakfast the way everyone else does, on a plate and this and that and that. I don't make this beautiful smorgasbord, but I have done it when I've had people over or brunch, and it's really a nice setup that you make sort of a waffle bar and have your waffles cut up, or you can leave them whole like that and have some cut up strawberries, blueberries, turkey bacon, regular bacon, sausages, anything that's safe, platters, little bowls of jellies and jams. I love Crofter's brand, that's what's safe for us and we use it. A little bit of whipped cream, have like an old school Belgian waffle. anything you want, but have a nice little array and set it up almost like I said, like a little waffle bar where there's lots of different options. So my kids grab whatever they want. They, one likes it with this kind of syrup, but one likes it with just plain, with some fruit. They all like something different. Something they all like is I'll mash up some of the fresh fruit, like the blueberries and the strawberries, cook them down for a couple of minutes, get them really soft, and then mash them up and add it to the syrup, and then they have flavored syrup. So it's as good as IHOP, but without 4 billion calories and more red dye number 40 than could kill an elephant. So really some good options to think about. So here we go. Breakfast option, making a breakfast bar of toppings. Delicious, love it. Let's move on to lunch. We're going with our lunchbox this time, so you could be a lunchbox hero. This is Casey's favorite thing in the world, and I'm not lying when I say this. He's obsessed with his Bent-Go's. Again, I'm not getting paid. I get no kickbacks. This isn't like Bent-Go is paying me. I'm just a mom here telling you what my allergy kid loves, what my regular kids love, because even my middle son Gabriel has one too and loves it. These are the most fun. They're bento boxes, right? So look at all this cool stuff that you can put in there. So I said to Casey before, your first day of kindergarten is 3 weeks from today. Yikes, oh my God. But who's counting? He's never been to school before, so this is, pretty terrifying for me. But one of the things that are making it easier is knowing I'm sending him safe food and stuff that he likes and he'll be comfortable with. He's comfortable with his Bento, he's comfortable using it, which means a lot of anxiety is going to be taken at mealtime for him because he's never been away from me eating his meals. So I said to him, okay, when we're going to school, what do you want in your Bento? And he picked out everything. I said, besides waffles. So we made waffle dippers, okay? These are really yummy. You can't really see here, but there's some cinnamon and sugar on them, which is really awesome. And he said he wants to dip in yogurt. So we put the ice pack in and he'll have his So Delicious yogurt. Oh, my green light just went on. Let's take a look. No, not ready yet. And Wow Butter packets. These are fantastic if you can have soy. Those who have tree nut, peanut allergies, soy butter, Wow Butter is a really good option. Now, Casey, of all of his 30 allergies and FPIs and everything, he actually can have peanut. It's one of 4 or 5 safe proteins for him. However, he did pass the soy challenge about 4 months ago, and I fully understand that even though I didn't ask for any food bans in his kindergarten class, there may be another parent who did, a parent whose child may be allergic to peanut, and I fully respect that. So I'm not going to send him to peanut to school, peanut butter, unless it's okay. So having him used to the Wow Butter is great. These, again, I get no kickbacks, just telling you my experience. These containers are awesome. Found them on Amazon. They're like little food service quality ones. And we have these on the go all the time. Yes, it's like a massive amount I had to buy. Just want to check the waffle. Oh, totally done. Beautiful. Leaving those to cool. They come in massive amounts, but it has totally paid for itself because we have them on the go with us all the time. He can't eat restaurants like his brothers can. So if we stop somewhere, if we're out for the day, as long as I have this safe pretzels and some fruit and stuff cut up, he dips, he's happy, he's getting protein, everybody wins. So that's a great option if that's something that's good for you. His Giggles, if you don't know Giggles, they are the Young Earth brand of like Skittles, and they're organic. They're very, very tasty. Casey loves them, so he said, I'll put some in there. I don't know if I'm going to be sending him for lunch with that, but I'll humor him for today. His clementines, his cuties, that boy will eat his weight in clementines. So, but I got to tell you, pretty well-rounded lunch. He had a backup plan of some rolled up Applegate turkey, but then changed his mind and wanted to keep him with this. I left this up to him. But again, Bento, awesome. You're good to go. Waffle for lunch, dippers. Even if they have the cold cuts, wrap the cold cuts around it. It's great. Everybody wins. Cream cheese, all sorts of fun stuff. Let them pick it out. Just say, okay, you have your waffles. What do you want? There you go. The Bento snaps up. Really leak-proof. It's awesome. I've had them for years now. Casey used to use this when he had feeding therapy about 3 years ago, and they worked awesome. It really got him to break through and trying new foods just from the look of it was so different and cool, and he loved it. So I really recommend this brand. Buy it on Amazon. They have a website. Bentgo, B-E-N-T-G-O. Love it. Okay, so there's Lunchbox Hero. What are we having for dinner with our waffles? How about chicken and waffles? you've never had chicken and waffles, they are so good. So good. Traditional Southern thing. I'm sure I broke tons of protocol here by putting lettuce and tomato on it, but I said to the boys, what would you have on it? Now, one of mine is totally picky, would never have lettuce and tomato. The other one wants that. Casey said he would want his with barbecue sauce on it. You know, they all like something different, but that's the beauty. You have your crispy waffles, and these are Purdue gluten-free chicken tenders. Love them. They're safe for Casey. My boys love them. They get really, really crispy, especially in the air fryer. Love them. Because I was making homemade ones. I was like, why? It's just not worth it. And they love these. And they're actually made with really good ingredients. It's pretty healthy if you look at it. So I don't feel terrible about buying them. And you're like, oh, a waffle for dinner as a sandwich. What makes a waffle any better than a piece of bread, any healthier? It doesn't. These are homemade. You know what's in them. If you're buying or using store-bought bread, there's really nothing any better in there that's not homemade. I mean, yes, there's sugar in the waffle batter. However, bear in mind, and people have to keep this in perspective, yes, there's a quarter cup of sugar in the waffle batter, but it's not like you're sitting there eating a quarter cup of sugar with a spoon. It's dispersed through all these waffles, okay? And there's sugar in bread, store-bought bread anyway, or honey, or other variations of something. So this is good. It's homemade. You know what they're getting. These get really super crispy, and you put them on there. So yum. Put a little drizzle of syrup, even a little drizzle of honey, whatever you want. And chicken waffles for dinner is so good. As a matter of fact, I will be making more later because my husband saw me making these today, and he's like, please make those for dinner tonight. Easy for me. I mean, if a man will eat gluten-free chicken tenders out of the freezer, I got a winner. I mean, I cook almost every night anyway, but still, one cheap night, I'll take it. So there we go. Now, we have done breakfast, we've done lunchbox, we've done dinner. What's for dessert? Well, we're not gonna have just a plain Belgian waffle. No, my friends. We gotta go into the freezer because otherwise it would have melted. And we have our chocolate variation waffles that we made ice cream sandwiches. How fun and cool are these chocolate dipped waffle ice cream sandwiches? Yay! So, I did the chocolate variation. Let's check our waffle. Did the chocolate variation of the waffle, and then I lined an 8x8 square baking pan with foil. Trimmed the waffles to fit the bottom, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can add little pieces and mix and match. Just line the bottom with your waffles. Then you're gonna put your safe ice cream on top of it. Oatly is safe for Casey, so that's what we use. We used to have So Delicious, but then they added stupid pea protein, which is in everything, and I don't understand why, because it's the worst. So I had to stop using that, but Oatly has been fantastic for him. And I did a little Neapolitan thing here that I put vanilla ice cream and then some strawberry ice cream on top. I know with the color you can't really see it. And then another layer of the cut waffles on top. You need to give this at least 6 to 8 hours, if not overnight, to really set up so you can cut them. If you want any hints about setting up something like this on katiebakesforcasey.com, I have a whole post about making a homemade ice cream cookie cake, and a lot of the same things apply there about how to cut it and things like that. So when you take it out the next day, let it sit like at least 5 minutes at room temperature, because you want it to thaw a bit, just so you can slice through it. Have a knife, keep running it under hot water, wiping off the hot water, and start cutting it up. Trim up the edges and cut them into the shapes you want. I have squares that I made, fun little triangle one right here, dipped in chocolate, made a little quick raspberry sauce, and some safe coconut whipped cream. Obviously the dairy allergy, Casey can't have homemade whipped cream or Ready Whip or Cool Whip or anything like that. So what you do is refrigerate a can of coconut, full fat, coconut milk or coconut cream overnight. Let it get really, really cold and hard. You're gonna take out the solid fat, not the liquid. You don't want the liquid that's in the bottom. Save that for like a smoothie or something. And you're going to whip up that solid fat with a little bit of vanilla and powdered sugar, just like regular whipped cream, and it's so good, so good. He loves it. I have a bowl sitting in the fridge waiting to go for tonight, and that's what we have right here. We have ice cream waffle sandwiches for dessert. How awesome is that with the chocolate variation? Let's take a look. We're done. Everything looks great here. I'm gonna put in our last waffle. See, I've been sitting here talking this whole time, and all the batter is basically done at this point. So it really doesn't take that long to get all this done. If you're like hemming and hawing, oh, should I bother? Yeah, it's awesome. So there we go. We have our waffles 4 ways: breakfast, lunchbox, dinner, and dessert. So easy. You saw how easy it was sitting here doing this. Now, you're going to put these in the freezer. This is what I recommend. Parchment paper. Anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with my parchment paper, okay? Buy my pre-cut sheets. Love them. You're going to cut up these sheets, right? You're doing this like this. I mean, I do it like this because I've been doing with this for a billion years, working professionally, but this is what we're going to do, right? So you want to cut up a whole bunch of these sheets, and then as these cool, you're going to stack them up, the piece of parchment in the middle, okay? Oh, these are my warm ones. You know, I'm going to use my ones from before, so they're not warm. See, there's still condensation in there. I'm not going to break my own rules. On the bottom, on top, and then I did it again. And then you're just going to layer them up like that, okay? And then once you have them all stacked up, put them in a zip top freezer bag, but make sure you get the freezer bags, because anything else, they're really not as good. They won't keep out the moisture as well. Okay? You can even wrap these in plastic wrap for an extra insurance policy and put them in your freezer bag. They will keep at least a month, if not 2, in your freezer. You can even cut them up into the little triangles before you put them in, if you prefer to take them as you go. It's up to you. But honestly, this is such a great recipe, and I really, really hope you try it out, because it's one of those little things that'll make going back to school a little bit easier. The kids think it's fun. They think they're getting away with something, having waffles all these different ways. And honestly, it's good. It's homemade. You know it's in there. You know it's safe. And again, I have variations for any of your safe needs. The recipe, katiebakesforkasey.com. I'm going to be that guy and say like and subscribe, but only because I want to help more people. Let's get these recipes out there to know that there are so many options for those of us or our kids who have allergies, who have intolerances, or just want to have a different way of eating, okay? So like I always say, life is short, so eat dessert first safely. Life is short, so let's eat waffles for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert safely, because we can. So be well, happy back to school, and we will see you again soon. Bye.